ready to begin.
Okay, Justin, so we're good to go?
Yes.
Okay. Hello all, welcome to the City of Thorold's Environment, Climate Change and Biodiversity Advisory Committee for Friday, July 11th. I'll call this meeting to order at 10:02 a.m. I'll start by reading the land acknowledgement. The City of Thorold is situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Hattawandak, Hattawendurong, the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. I will then ask if there's any declaration of interest for today's meeting before proceeding. Seeing none, I will ask for a mover and seconder to adopt the agenda for today's call. Can I please have a mover? Yes, thanks, Councillor Longo and Joe Atkinson. Although I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? All right, that's carried. We can move on. Item number 5 is the adoption of the minutes from our last meeting on May the 2nd. Again, I'm going to ask for a mover and a seconder to adopt the minutes from our last meeting in May. Thanks, Joe and Councillor Longo. I'll ask the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay, we'll get into it. Item number 6 on our agenda today is correspondence. The first item is correspondence regarding our resolution regarding trees and plant lists that was reviewed at the May 20th council meeting, and that was passed, specifically memorandum CLC 92025 regarding the ECBEC resolution regarding tree and plant lists. Our presentation was fairly well received, I believe, and we appreciate the support of council for our Greening Thorold Working Group. If there's no questions or comments on that, I will move on. Okay. Item 6.2 on the agenda is related to the resolution from the Niagara region. And you'll find as part of the agenda package a number of documents relating to the resolution from the Niagara region regarding their corporate climate change action plan. So it's an excellent plan, very comprehensive and detailed plan, and it's great to see the region on a path to reduce greenhouse gases. However, I will make a comment at this point. In my opinion, is that the plan is fairly slow and is narrowly focused at this point, which I understand is by design. Is it only covers the corporate-owned entities, not the entire community's emissions. So I want to make sure that we're aware of that. A corporate program only includes emissions from the municipal-owned entities like buildings and vehicles, and they typically account for less than 2% of all emissions from within a municipality's boundaries. So that's why I say it's fairly narrowly focused at this point. At this pace, the region will not be meeting Canada's commitments with respect to the Paris Agreement, which includes reducing all emissions by 50% by 2030. That's not going to happen on this pace. I just want to make that statement. I also wanted to clarify something in the region's action plan, which I said is an excellent plan. It does state in the action plan that the cost to decarbonize remains high. Just wanted to make sure that we understand that that is in context of the city's budget. However, when you look at the bigger picture, there is no doubt the cost of inaction or slow action against climate change far outweighs the cost to decarbonize. This has been documented over and over again. Okay, what else on this subject?
I have a question, Mark. So I just skimmed through it. I didn't read it. So when you say it's only the Niagara Region's emissions. So if they hire a contractor to like pour a sidewalk, are those emissions considered? Like, are they putting that saying, well, this contractor has electric equipment and this one doesn't, or is there this one's coming from far away and this one's local? Like, are they including that carbon of all the different contractors they hire
Yeah,
throughout?
that's a good question. So my understanding, and I can't say for sure, but my understanding is that would be covered because that
Okay.
is under the control of of the region.
Okay.
Yeah. One other note on their plan, or sorry, on all the documentation that's associated with the plan, is that 7 of 12 Niagara Region municipalities have joined the region in developing their corporate climate action plan. So that's good news. As per the region, beyond environmental benefits, the plan drives economic efficiencies through energy savings, fosters innovation, and enhances resilience by mitigating climate-related risks. It also improves public health by reducing pollution and promoting cleaner air. In case
And
you're not
so
aware,
Thorold is signed on to that or what?
the city of Thorold is not one of the 7 municipalities working with the region on a formal climate action plan. So, my last comment on this subject is perhaps this committee could get more involved, more engaged with climate action by taking a look at the region's plan and proposing perhaps a list of initiatives that the city could work on as well as the region to be consistent with the region without having an official plan. I think we can do that. So I would suggest that we can talk a little bit more about this when we come to the working group updates, specifically under the committee's long-term goals working group.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So those are my comments. Thanks for listening. Is anyone else have any comments or questions on the Niagara Region's corporate climate action plan?
Not at this time.
Okay. Seeing nothing, I will move on to the next item. Item 6.3 on our agenda, which is another correspondence from the region. This one regarding a resolution dated May 22nd regarding an update to Niagara Region Woodland Conservation Bylaw. So my understanding of this action that the region is taking, it's first of all, it's referring to a bylaw that prohibits and regulates the destruction or injuring of trees in woodlands in the Niagara region. However, as a result of the province's Bill 23, which has essentially rendered the Niagara region an upper tier municipality without planning responsibilities, the responsibility for this bylaw now falls to the municipalities. So I'm assuming that Thorold has specific bylaws to cover this, or they will need to be developed. And I'm not sure how to verify that there are such bylaws.
So I don't know either. I was wondering about both of these items, the climate action plan and this bylaw. Like, is there any outreach of like explaining how things have changed or explaining what the climate action plan, like sort of more layman's terms instead of people trying to read these documents and understand what they actually mean? Is there a public rollout of any of this?
I
Okay.
cannot answer that other than,
Okay.
Councilor Longo?
Um,
Is that,
I'm sorry, Chair, I don't have an answer for you, but I'm just wondering if maybe Mark could look into this and get a report back to us next meeting on whether or not the city has any bylaws in place currently, and maybe for a summary of what the regional woodland conservation bylaw is. Would that be possible, Mark?
Through the chair, absolutely, I can take care of that. Yep.
Thank you.
thank you, Councilor. Thank you, Mark. Helen, as for your question, I'm not sure about the public. I just am aware that the region does work with the cities, the municipalities, and there is communication there, so we understand what needs to happen. Or sorry, the city understands what is going on with the changes of the upper tier municipalities having lost considerable power with Bill 23.
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, I know with the region has a registered professional forester who enforces the bylaw. So if there's an issue, people often phone and say, oh, there's, a forest being cleared back here. And then they investigate and put orders in and whatnot. But so I assume there had to be something for the public because if I see clearing, I'm going to be like, well, I don't know who to phone. What municipality am I in? Who's going to look after this? Do we have a registered professional forester on staff? Like that sort of thing seems like all like, no, we don't, right? Like we don't have
I
the
think,
capacity.
yeah, I think a generic answer is that the city is willing to work with any municipality, just like on the climate action plans.
Okay.
They cannot mandate them as they would have in the past, but
Okay.
they are offering support and will continue to provide a valuable role there.
Okay.
So
Makes
I
sense.
think that if something is witnessed in the city of Thorold, people should be coming to the city of Thorold, who can then leverage the region accordingly. Does that make sense, Mark? Or is there anything else that you would add to that?
No, I think that, so straight through the chair, I think that's a very, it's,
Is it just me, or is Mark cutting out?
um,
He's cutting out a little bit.
Okay, thanks.
there we go.
Can you hear us,
Can
Mark?
you hear,
Yeah.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay. No, I think the response was wonderful. As for the previous correspondence, I will at the next meeting I'll have an additional update.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. Are there any other questions or comments on this topic of update to the Niagara Region Woodland Conservation Bylaw? Seeing none, I will move to committee business, item 7.1, Earth Day Working Group. I was hoping that Zach would join us today. I don't see him on here. I think it is time that we should already be planning the 2026 event. If there's anything we've learned from previous years, it takes time to recruit displays and things like that. Okay, so Zach's not on. Justin, can you refresh my mind? Sorry to put you on the spot. Is there other folks that are on this working group from this committee that are on this call?
There is, just give me one moment.
Yeah, actually, I don't think Helen or Joe are on the Earth Day working group. No,
I have Leslie, Ratna, and Zachary. So no,
Okay, so I'll take an action just to reach out offline to sorry, who did you say? Leslie?
Leslie, what did I say? Leslie, Ratna, and Zachary.
Okay, I'll take an action to reach out to them to ensure we get engaged ASAP. And support Jacob on his initiatives. Okay. Are there any other questions or comments on this item, Earth Day? If not, I'm seeing none. I'll move to 7.1.2. So this is the committee's long-term goals working group, which has been a bit of an on again, off again. So we don't have an update per se to give right now. However, I believe the time is right to reactivate this working group to focus on a number of initiatives, as previously mentioned, to get more engaged with the region's corporate climate change action plan to see if there's any potential actions that the city of Thorold could be taking. I'm also looking at revisiting our high-level objectives that we had documented about a year ago relating to climate adaptation activities. I think that's something that we really need to be getting underway before it's too late. So again, the intent is to come forward with a proposal for the city on climate adaptation. And I know we're already working on things like greening Thorold and trees and shade and those things. I'm referring to more other infrastructure as well as human aspects of climate adaptation. For example, to make sure that we know where our most vulnerable people are and that we have open lines of communication with them, in case of heat waves and things like that. Okay. And then the third item that I think we could have under this long-term goals working group is to continue to stay engaged with the city for the energy conservation and demand management plan, as well as for the city's official plan update activities. And I do understand that there's staffing challenges within the city, but we would like to be able to contribute to those activities whenever we can. Is there any other suggestions on what we can be looking at for the long-term goals of the committee? I'll say that we had it broken up under biodiversity, climate mitigation, climate adaptation specifically, and I believe that the biodiversity and climate mitigation section we're sort of covering under the Greening Thorold Initiative, as well as the official plan activities. So that's why I'm saying we need to look at the climate mitigation portion at this point. But if there's anything else more specific we should look at. Okay. So I'll again take that action to restart that working group. Okay. Is there any other questions or comments before I move on?
Is there any thought on like that? So still that climate plan, the Niagara region, it was, like I said, I saw it there and I was scanning through it, but it's a huge document, so I didn't read it. Yeah, it would be good to get some sort of interpretation as to like who's involved, which municipalities are and how they're adopting pieces of it, because maybe one of under our long-term goals could be to advise the city of Thorold to undertake like chunks of it that makes sense to city council. But I don't know if everybody has like the capacity to read the thing and understand it and see where there's action to be had and where they're just sort of guiding principles and things like that. So
sure. What the region is doing is they're following the Federation of Canadian Municipalities PCP program. So they're following a well-defined, documented, and financially supported program to look at emissions, where they're coming from, developing a plan to address them, and then putting targets and timelines on those plans. So that's essentially what that is. But what we can do is look at specifics within the region's plan, and it's generally not too difficult if we're just looking at corporate. We're looking at buildings. We're looking at buildings that the city of Thorold owns. We're looking at vehicles that the city owns. We're looking at other infrastructure, like even things like lighting. And I know the city has already taken a number of actions. So it's a matter of looking at areas that are typical emissions come from, and then seeing if the city is already working on reducing those. But I take your point, and I think we could collaborate with some other municipalities as well. I know city of St. Catharines, as well as Niagara-on-the-Lake, for example, they have full-time climate staff. So we can work with those folks and see what they're up to. Sorry, Justin, I saw you had your hand up, and Councillor O'Hare. So Justin first.
I think mine was covered. That's
all right. Thank you. Councillor O'Hare.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to mention, I too had a glance at the document, and it's quite substantial. It may be good for us to invite someone from the region to give us a summary and explain some of the more practical points that perhaps we could also engage the city into looking at.
That's a great suggestion. Thank you very much. I have been in contact with some of the folks at the region who's developing this plan. So I can reach out to them myself unless we need to do it more formally through the city. Justin, go ahead.
Just gonna say I can contact them, but if you want to as well, just direct them to me so we can get them on the agenda if you want.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Okay.
So yeah, part of what I got from the document was to look at projects through a green lens, a climate lens, whatever. So when a project comes forth, it's not just the typical what you've thought of in the past. It's a step back and saying, okay, what's environmental, climate change, biodiversity impact of these different projects, and are they significant, or are there options and stuff like that? So that's also where I thought maybe the city could adopt that sort of, we can call it a green lens instead of a climate lens, or an environmental lens, to just think outside of just the regular items. And I didn't know if that would be because we haven't done the PCP program, we can still do a green lens, environmental lens when projects come to council and they say, well, which one is actually long term the better environmental thing? So that was one thing I took from it. That could be not PCP and not really have a budget expense associated with it all the time, but just a review and thinking outside the regular paradigm. So.
Yeah, great suggestion. And so what we'll have to do is when we have our next meeting of that working group, then we can consider how do we get the city to implement that. It's one thing saying, to look at everything through an environmental lens, but what does that mean? What are the processes that the city has in place today, and how can they be influence to do that? Yeah, it's a great suggestion. So we'll have to look at how we can do that. Councillor O'Hare.
Sorry, my computer seems awfully slow this morning. Thank you, Chair. I'm just wondering if we can also find out how the City of Thorold can become a partner in this. I know City Council did in fact shoot down any opportunity to join the PCP program. So in a roundabout way, and I believe it was actually Councillor Longo who said eventually we're going to have to deal with some of these issues either through PCP or through the region representing PCP, and here we are. So what is it going to take for us to join as well?
Is it just me again, or is
So you're
Councillor
cutting out a little bit.
Put a
So maybe
service we
to
have in the region.
council and ask to be a bit, is there invite someone to come and summarize? They might.
Okay. You're cutting out a bit. Maybe turn off the video and see if that gives you a little more bandwidth.
Okay.
I don't know if that usually works or not.
Okay. All right. So can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So I was saying that what would it take for the City of Thorold to join, to add our name to this list of municipalities already signed up or involved with this commitment? And that could be perhaps a question that we could pose to the person from the region that comes to speak, so that we could have another stab at it, seeing that the first time around it wasn't too successful at council. Perhaps this time around it would be.
Yes, thank you. And I think there are other ways that we can do this without official participation in the FCM PCP program. So more food for thought on that. And I think, Mark, when we have our first working group meeting, you're not officially a member of that, but I think I'll need to invite you to get help on some of these subjects. Okay. Any other good suggestions or comments regarding this? Okay, seeing none, let's move on to the 7.1.3 of the agenda, which is the Greening Thorold Working Group. You can see that our last meeting was held just a few days ago, and the minutes can be found in the agenda package. I'll just go over through a few of the highlights. As previously mentioned, the city has accepted the plan for the approved tree list. So the city is now working on a number of activities, which includes making a short list of trees specific for boulevard planting, then updating the city's website, specifically the tree planting program page. Also releasing an info bulletin via the Let's Talk Thorold. And I'm not sure how that works, if that's Facebook bulletins or there's other mechanisms. Also talked about issuing a news release and sharing the larger lists with the city's primary supplier, getting them basically on board with the trees that we're looking to plant moving forward. The working group also continues to work on the development of the recommended plant lists, which is our next step. And we're targeting to complete those lists before the end of August so that they can be implemented along with associated bylaw changes before the end of this year. So the objective is to get ready for 2026 spring plantings, to quote somebody from the meeting a few days ago. We also discussed the updating and creation of procedures for planting and maintenance of trees and plants. It does look that the city already has this fairly well in hand, so that's great. Mark, is there anything else you wanted to add to that update? I'm just trying to hit the highlights.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No, I think you've touched upon all of the details. Under roundtable discussion, I'll be providing just a piece of good news about that tree planting list.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay. Are there any other questions or comments regarding the Greening Thorold Working Group? And before we leave, I should thank again Helen for doing most of the heavy lifting there with our tree list.
Thanks.
All right, seeing no other questions or comments, where are we? Number 8, the roundtable discussion. I'll just start by giving a quick update to a request from our last ECBEC meeting where Joe had asked for some support to do a biodiversity survey for the Lake Gibson corridor. So my understanding is that Brock University and the NPCA are willing to collaborate on this. And Joe, I believe you and Natalie are looking at discussing this further with plans sort of scheduled for the fall. I don't know if you want to add anything more to that.
Nothing more to add on that particular score. It's once the excuse me, once the students are back in classes, then we can proceed with it. Also, in some respects, doing the survey in the fall would be easier to do than it would be right now anyway. So that's
okay.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you, Joe. And it'd be great to really see some more progress with that Lake Gibson corridor with the objective of getting some sort of a park designation or conservation area or something like that. So really looking forward to more work there. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we're actually looking towards something called an eco park.
Oh, okay.
Designation.
Okay. And that's spelled ECO, not ECHO, right?
Right. So, okay, I've got one more thing semi-related, but I'll wait until it's my turn for the roundtable.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Joe. So I'll just have one or two other items on before I go around. I did see that the city put out a community engagement notice for Artisan Ridge Park project and their proposed parkland. So it's great to see the city planning a parkland area in this new development. I provided my personal feedback, which includes planting more trees. I live near the new Merritt Meadows playground, and I can tell you, I drive by there every day in the mid-afternoon, and it is empty. There is not a single tree in that park, and it is too hot for the kids to be out. So that was my input basically to that parkland, and we need to get more trees planted on the south side of the playground as well as the mini soccer field. Probably some in the center of the park as well. So um, there may not be room for all these trees, but this is what we need if we want to have these parks actually usable moving forward. I did see that there's another public consultation for Legacy Area 3 park project. That one came out a few days ago. I haven't looked at it in detail. It has a whole bunch more trees on it, but again, they're not on the south side, and there's too much parking space, if you ask me. But I'll be providing my personal comments on that one as well. Um, Last thing I'll say is we're all living in very in my opinion, we're living in very unusual times right now in Canada and the world, and specifically in Ontario. And it's going to be interesting to see how the city navigates forward under the province's ongoing actions of power grabs. The latest being Bill 5 and Bill 17, which in many ways restricts the abilities of municipalities to govern effectively. So it'll be interesting, and we're here to help as much as we can. All right, with that, I'm going to go around on who I see on my screen here. It's okay, Joe, you're first. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, thanks. Just a a minor thing on the artisan park. At our committee meeting for the parks and trails, looking at the plan, there's been some discussion that there's not enough parking. So it's quite conceivable that the trees that are showing up on there ain't going to be there. The ones that are already in the pictures. It's a fairly large area there, and having on-street parking for particularly since there's with the mini soccer field and whatnot, may not be the way that the city and the committee and whatnot eventually go.
So here's a comment consistent with what Helen was saying earlier. If we take a look at this from a green environmental lens, I would suggest that people in the neighborhood are encouraged to take part in active transportation. They can walk and bike to the park. I'm astounded at, again, this park that's here. We have a whole pile of space lost to parking when I don't understand why people and their children can't walk to the park. Just mind-boggling.
I hear you. I agree with you. I'm just telling you what some members of the committee, of the Parks and Trails Committee, thought about the parking situation.
Understood.
So
Okay,
we have
hang on.
two advisory committees advising two different things.
Mhm.
So I think our committee should become the,
Mhm.
Environment, Climate Change, Biodiversity, and Parks Committee. And we should take the parks.
I think
I was
we
going
should
to,
be
what
able
I'd like
we
to,
should be able to collaborate.
yeah.
And
What I'd like to put forward is again the same. We've talked about permeable paving, alternative paving, and if need be, like have it as a pilot project. Say, this parking lot is way bigger than we had hoped, so we're gonna try something new and put those parking bricks that have like fine grass able to grow between them. They have them in Niagara-on-the-Lake. There's a great big huge park in Niagara-on-the-Lake with some real parking and then big sections of this parking with the grass growing through it. And
yeah,
I think that's like super better. Super better.
it
That
costs
addresses the runoff, like the polluted, dirty water that runs off of parking lots all the time. So I think
it costs money. And so, by the way, I was at Rockway Conservation Area yesterday, which is a great NPCA area. I found new trails that I've never found before. But they have a parking lot there that is a permeable parking lot. They have EV chargers. I mean, this is what it means when you're looking at everything through green lens. There is a cost for these things, but we have to look, as I mentioned earlier, the cost of doing nothing.
Mhm.
It seems easy. It's not. It's going to cost us more. It's in our
Like as
health
the-
and as well
yeah.
as our infrastructure. And
Yes.
if anyone's watching what's happening south of the border, it's not just Texas, it's North Carolina, it's New Mexico. They're
Yes.
having flash floods that are costing billions of dollars. So we
Yeah.
have to get on board with this stuff. And looking at the parks, like again, like I said, the one here in Merritt Meadows, right now it's a big open field with a small playground. But the plan is to basically cover every inch of earth with something of man-made material. And we can't be doing that if we expect to be contributing to climate mitigation. These are things that we can't be doing. But anyways, that's
But
sorry.
so do we have a process to recommend to the municipality to try either a swale where so you can do regular parking, but the water doesn't flow into the sewer system. It flows into like a ditch full of grasses that will absorb the water, or the permeable paving. Maybe a ditch they'd be happy with a ditch. That sounds a bit cheaper. A ditch full of water-loving flowers or whatever. Like, how do we get this? Do we have to advise the Parks Committee that we'd like to see something in parks like this? Or how do we connect to see a little bit of modern infrastructure put into new builds like a park?
That's a good question.
I'll attempt to bring it up and put it on the agenda.
Thank you, Joe. So I'm just making a note here. Okay.
We have a hand
Joe,
up.
you had the floor. Is there anything else you wanted to say before I move on? Joe?
Sorry.
Sorry, I said, Joe, you had the floor. Is there anything else before I move on to somebody else?
Oh, no. Oh, yes. Another very, very minor spillover from the parks meeting. There's going to be a presentation right at the City Hall atrium on next Tuesday relating to a trail extension going basically from up by the canal and then hooking up with the walking bike trail down just off Beaver Dam or at Beaver Dams at just off Marlet's. The only reason I'm bringing it up is, we've already talked a little bit about the various things going on with Lake Gibson. There's alternate routes is what they're going to be discussing. At some point, I've been told, after the Parks Committee is all done with it, it's eventually going to come to this committee anyway. But if you happen to be in the area looking for something to do, 6 o'clock until 7:30, I believe it is. The presentation is not by the Parks Committee; it's by the city or or possibly the consultants. I haven't got the thing up right in front of me.
What's the date, Joe?
That would be the 14th, Tuesday next.
15th.
Sorry, 15th. Tuesday, yeah.
From 7.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right at the atrium.
All right, thanks for raising that, Joe. Stuart, I saw your hand up there back when we were talking about parks. I'll ask you to make your comments on anything at this point.
Oh, it's just it sounds like what everyone's describing in terms of the permeable pavement or the swales or bioswales is just generally referred to as LIDs or low impact development projects, right? So these are ways of managing stormwater and other things. So I was just going to add that as a point.
Yes, thank you, Stuart. And for anyone who's read the Niagara Region's official plan, it emphasizes making better use of that, of those types of natural infrastructure. So definitely encourage the City of Thorold to follow that as well. Okay. Let's see, on my screen, Helen, do you have anything else to?
Nothing ever
Mark.
comes to mind while it's my turn, so no. I'm good.
It is always easier to edit someone else than
Hmm.
than write. Yes, it's okay. Thank you, Helen. Mark.
Just two quick updates, and actually both speak very much to what we've been talking about throughout the meeting, and both focus on one park. I think I mentioned before that at the DeQ House Heritage Park, we will be having a tree planting on October 6th. But this project is actually picking up some significant steam. So originally the plan was to plant 100 smaller trees. But we've since been, and that was going to be organized through the Ontario Association of Cemetery and Funeral Professionals in consultation with Trees for Life. But we were recently contacted by OPG as they would like to do a tree planting, and we will see upwards of $10,000 from OPG invested into the tree planting. Hearing that the OACFP increased their funding from 5,000 to 10,000. So essentially, and of course, tying all of this in with the historical significance of that park, working with the Friends of Lower Seaport, our goal at present is to plant 262 native trees and shrubs in that park. And so going back to the tree planting list, we have provided Aaron Schmall of the Niagara Park School of Horticulture, the tree planting list that Helen developed, so that he can work from that list to identify the favorable trees to be planted. And again, that we're taking it one step further, and we're going to be working on incorporating shrubs into that planting as well, as there's a significant bit of green space up there. To speak to one of the additional items that we've been discussing throughout this meeting is we're also working on parking lot improvements to the existing parking lot at DeQ House Heritage Park. And in a meeting just this morning, we were discussing that once this is going through the procurement process, we'll be asking for two alternatives. One is to pave the parking lot, and the other is to use permeable paving options. And I think to the point that was made by a number of people, perhaps ECPAC should consider putting forth a motion encouraging planning engineering or the city in general to incorporate LID or environmentally friendly alternatives into, or take them into consideration when projects, whether it's development, park development, park design, parking lot construction, etc. So that may be something that the committee should consider in the future. And I believe that is it.
Okay, thanks,
Thank
Mark. Just hang on, I gotta make some notes here. Okay, what else? Councillor O'Hare.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The only thing that I'm going to add is that I'm really pleased to hear that the city will be starting to look at permeable paving. We've talked about that for a while, and it's at least now it's on the agenda to address. I know it's always a thing of finances, but it's a step in the right direction. So great to hear, as well as the tree plantings. And that's everything. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Oh, Mark, just a question back on when you say DeQ House, there's two areas along DeQ Road. There's one where they have the old mill, and that's all being renovated right now. And then there's the remains of some British captain or major or whatever house, which is part of the Lower Seacourt Trail. That's what you're referring to as the DeQ House, right?
That's correct. Not the Morningstar Mill. So we're focused on the city park that is the DeQ House Heritage Park, where the Indigenous Peace Memorial is as well.
Right. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And to that note, actually, one thing I left out was the purpose for 262 trees is because the planting will take place the day before the 262nd anniversary of the signing of the Royal Proclamation. So that's why we're focused on that number.
Interesting. All right. Thank you. All right. Councillor O'Hare.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to mention that the Morningstar Mill, the other building you referred to, actually is in St. Catharines. So the city boundaries along that road kind of run in a very odd direction, because you go up the hill after Morningstar, turn left, and you're back in Thorold. So it's really quite funny. So just for everyone's information, Morningstar Mill. We'd like to take it over one day. They don't know about that, but we'll work on it.
Yeah, it is. Thank you, Councillor. It is interesting when you're in Short Hills Provincial Park. That's Thorold, and it's part of sort of the same area where the trails behind the Morningstar Mill, but that's St. Catharines. Okay, thank you. All right, Councillor Long. Oh, sorry, Stuart, go ahead.
I was going to say, it even gets funnier. Camp Wetaskiwin inside of Short Hills has a St. Catharines address, but the entire property was within Thorold. So I'm not sure how it works. It's fun.
It's interesting because whenever I do something with my postal code on some system, even a government site or whatever, I'm putting in my postal code, it comes up Welland, Ontario. Half the time it comes up Welland, and half the time it comes up Thorold when I put in my postal code. So, anyways. All right, Councillor Longo.
Sorry, I have nothing to add, Chair. And I apologize for being up and down. I've got a contractor in my house.
Okay, understood. Okay, with that, we'll move on to item number 9, which is, Justin, go ahead.
Just a note for committees that with next year being the municipal election, majority of committees will be having their meetings end around July 1st, just as an update. And then we'll have a more formal schedule around November for this committee.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Justin.
So what's our deadline to have all this work done?
Well, obviously, this can spill into the new group after the election, but yeah, meetings will generally up to July 1st. Yeah.
Yeah, the one thing that's nice about municipal government is doesn't usually is not subjected to the volatile swings that our provincial and federal governments can have. So, anyways, all right. So our next ACPAC meeting will be held on September 5th. And with that, I'll call this meeting adjourned at 10:49. And everyone have a good weekend.